Right, y'all. So we got some more news from Midas Touch podcast about Trump crashing out on the balcony after Iran issued that warning that we had reacted to earlier. So let's see what they let's check it out. Let's see what they talking about.
Donald Trump is crashing out on the White House balcony fairly late at night as Iran has issued yet another warning. We're hearing from Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi, who posted the following message. Months after initiation of war on Iran, U.S. Congress acknowledges loss of dozens of aircraft worth billions. Our powerful armed forces are confirmed as first to strike down a touted F-35. With lessons learned and knowledge regained, return to war will feature many surprises. In other words, Donald, be prepared for surprises and a global depression and massive casualties if you reinitiate the war against Iran. Now, this evening, Wall Street Journal is also reporting the following. Mediators are saying the U.S. Iran talks have made little progress, with both sides still far apart. Iran continues demanding an end to hostilities, financial relief, and a role in the Strait of Hormuz, while rejecting key U.S. demands to shut down or suspend its nuclear program. In other words, Iran has the same conditions it had in early March and the conditions that Donald Trump soon thereafter agreed to in order to initiate the ceasefire that Donald Trump then went back on. So Donald Trump then took to the balcony of the White House and, for reasons that are unclear, brought out Melania, who kind of just stood there watching. And then Donald Trump said, look, everybody, I just want to let everybody know, it was another rough day on the market, but the war's going to end soon. Iran totally wants to make a deal. They're desperate to make a deal, everybody. I'm on the balcony. Just want to let you know that. Here, play this clip.
We're blowing it away. We're blowing everything away, and we're going to end that war very quickly. They want to make a deal so badly. They're tired of this. This should have happened for 47 years. Somebody should have done something about it, and it's going to happen, and it's going to happen fast, and you're going to see oil prices plummet. They're going to come down. There's so much oil out there. They're going to come plummeting down.
Then Donald Trump said, but look, I know the prices not so good right now. I know things aren't affordable, but just remember, we inherited really bad prices and we brought everything down just like I promised. Quite the contrary. You were handed a Goldilocks economy that was the envy of the world. Inflation was heading down to 2%. Things were getting significantly better, and you just look at any chart, you've made them much worse. That's just an objective fact. But Donald Trump is a lying liar who lies, and this is what they do. Lie. Here, play this clip.
We had inflation was at 1.6% for the last 3 months just prior to the war, and now you're going to see numbers like that again. We inherited high prices, and we got the prices down, and we got them down to numbers that in some cases people have not seen before. But think of it.
But folks, while the American people are deeply distressed right now about the state of our country, this deeply unpopular war, that things aren't affordable, Donald Trump has an important message. He knows a lot about flagpoles. Let's play it.
Company that put it up is the best. I think they make the best. It's hard to believe. I have so many different developments all over the world. I always like putting the flag up. And I know a lot about flagpoles, and that's the best flagpole there is, okay? So congratulations. We have 2 of them. We got actually 2 for the price of 1. We negotiated a tough deal.
Now Donald Trump said, look, I understand that maybe there's a lot of bad information out there, but you're just seeing it wrong. You see, the economy is great. We're in a golden age, but you're just not seeing it yet. But we're in the golden age right now. Watch what Trump says. Let's play it.
Stop them. They have nuclear on their mind, and we're not going to let them have a nuclear weapon. And we've done a hell of a job, and I think we're going to be finished with that very quickly, and they won't have a nuclear weapon, and hopefully we're going to get it done in a very nice manner. Factory construction, as you heard today, also is up. Housing starts are up, and consumer spending is up. All things, we have an economy. People aren't seeing it yet. When we inherited, when we started, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country.
Now, Donald Trump followed J.D. Vance, holding a bizarre press conference. J.D. Vance took on the role of press secretary a little bit earlier, and J.D. Vance said, you know what? I know everyone's a little upset about this slush fund that we're going to give to January 6th insurrectionists. I understand it's not that popular, but he goes, you know who gets no sympathy? Who should? The January 6th insurrectionists deserve a lot more sympathy than they're getting. Watch J.D. Vance. Let's play this clip.
But the American media and the American Legal Academy has decided that even though they committed bad crimes, their sentence was disproportionate. They were mistreated in some way. You know who never, ever gets an ounce of sympathy when it comes to that disproportionate sentencing is people who voted for Donald Trump and participated in the January 6th protest.
One Christmas
You love building high-performing websites, but you don't love having to chase clients down for content, coding plugins, or endlessly switching between tools. What if you could work without the grind?
And then J.D. Vance says, look, I'm just confused. You're angry that Donald Trump is behaving like a king, like a despot, like an authoritarian. He's like, but when King Charles was here, I didn't see anybody protesting a king like King Charles. So what are you? Are you no kings? Then how are you okay with King Charles? It's like a different country, man. Like, what are you talking about? Here, play this clip.
Putting up signs that say no kings. They are very, very insistent that we not have kings. And then King Charles comes to the congressional chamber, and these guys break out in rapturous applause. So maybe they don't care so much about kings as they pretend that they do. Maybe they just don't like the agenda that we're implementing that's actually making American workers and American families safe and prosperous again.
Then Caitlin Collins from CNN was asking J.D. Vance, I thought, some pretty good questions. And she goes, you previously told me anyone who assaulted police officers on January 6th should go to prison. So now you're creating a $1.8 billion slush fund to give out payouts to people who attacked and tried to kill police officers? Make it make sense, JD. And JD Vance is like, well, Caitlin, all I'm saying, Caitlin, is that we're not ruling anything out. Then Caitlin's like, well, why wouldn't you rule that out? Seems like a pretty basic thing to rule out. If you attack police, you don't get money. Attack police, bad. Rule out. Not in MAGA world, not in fascist world, not in Loserville. Play this clip.
Just to follow up, you previously told me that anyone who assaulted a police officer on January 6th should go to prison. So why not rule out giving them taxpayer-funded money?
Well, Caitlin, what I said is we're going to look at everything case by case. Because, Caitlin, there are people who I don't know their individual circumstances, and I don't rule things out categorically when I know nothing about a person's individual circumstances. Let's say a person is accused, let's say hypothetically, a person is accused of doing something that they never actually did, that they got a kangaroo court, that they had a judge who mistreated them. I think that we should look at those things case by case. We're not making commitments to give anybody money. We're just making commitments to look at things case by case.
Then Caitlin Collins said, last week you denied that Donald Trump was taking American financial situation into consideration. You denied that Donald Trump said that. But we know he said that now. Like, you've clearly seen that Donald Trump says, I don't care about America's financial condition. So now that you've seen it, will you admit that Donald Trump has repeatedly said over and over again, I am not taking the financial condition of Americans into account at all. I don't care about it. Trump was showed that again, and he goes, yeah, I don't care about it. Let's play the clip.
But just to follow up on the war, you last week denied that the president said he was not taking Americans' financial situations into consideration when he's making decisions on the Iran war. He was asked about that again. He stood by it, called it a perfect statement, and said he would make it again. Do you believe that Americans' financial situations should be taken into consideration when you're making decisions as an administration about the war?
See, Caitlin, what you did is you misrepresented the question that I was asked, and then you misrepresented the answer that I gave. What I said is that a question that was asked where the president allegedly said that he didn't care about Americans' financial situations. He never said that. What he said is that it was totally taken out of context. What he said is that when he is negotiating with the Iranians, he's focused on the national security objectives that he's trying to achieve. Of course, the president has a mandate to be focused on a number of things. And I guarantee you every single day, I have conversations with him about it. Every single day, he's worried about his fellow Americans. He wants them to be prosperous. He wants them to thrive. He wants them to have good jobs. That's why we've done the things and taken the steps that we've taken in order to create record job growth.
And then one of the things that J.D. Vance said is, look, folks, I know also you're hearing a lot about Donald Trump's 3,800 stock trades in Q1. It's about a trade every 9 minutes or so, close to 100 trades a day. I understand, but it's not like he's there with his Robinhood account doing stock trades himself. He's doing a lot of stock trades, JD, of companies that he does business with, or the companies that he brings into the White House. Let's play this clip.
Number one, the president doesn't sit at the Oval Office on his computer on his Robinhood account buying and selling stocks. That's absurd. He has independent wealth advisors who manage his money. He is a wealthy person. He has had success in business. He's not making these stock trades himself. And your question imputes that. It doesn't say it exactly, but a reasonable person listening to that question would assume the president is sitting around and doing that. He's not. Second of all, you're right. I am a big fan of banning members of Congress from trading stocks. So is the president of the United States. All of us believe that nobody should be taking proprietary information gained from public service and buying and selling stocks. We want to ban that. We want to ban that process. And I think the way to lead by example is banning that process, banning that approach, and making it illegal, which is exactly what the president has proposed doing.
Okay. And then J.D. Vance says, look.
The way you see an idea in your mind.
This ain't a forever war. I just want to be clear. When it comes to Iran, this ain't a forever war because there's been a...
We've declared ceasefire, so no war. So how is it a forever war? Do you also realize, JD, that our strategic reserves are being depleted at a record pace right now? And we're all on this track of running out of oil? Does anybody realize where this is actually headed right now? That we are truly on a path of no return? Or we're just going to act like this is all normal? Here, let's play this clip.
Where we're trying to get a negotiated settlement that gets the American people the things that we need for our national security. So I've said before that we're going to go one of two options here. We're going to have a good settlement that actually gets the American people what they need, or we're going to go back to a kinetic operation. Obviously, the president prefers to get that settlement. I think the Iranians prefer to get that settlement. But regardless of what direction the president ultimately goes down, whatever he ultimately decides, I think it's important for the American people to know two things. Number one, it will be for their security and their prosperity. That's why we're doing this. And number two, this is not going to be the sort of thing that lasts forever. I think a lot of Americans, especially in my generation, who are worried about forever endless conflicts, we have to remember, I think you said 11 weeks, a big chunk of that has been a ceasefire. This is not a forever war. We're going to take care of business and come home. That's what the president's promised, and that's exactly what he's going to deliver.
And then finally, reporter asked J.D. Vance, look, the price tag of this DOJ fund, $1.8 billion. You have lots of people who can't afford groceries right now. So do you think it's responsible to be spending $1.8 billion for January 6th insurrectionists to compensate them for being a part of the insurrection while Americans are suffering? And he's like, I reject the premise. Why don't we do both? Because you're screwing over the people and you're giving $1 billion to insurrectionists. I mean, that seems inherently disgusting. Here, play this clip.
Going back to the price tag for this DOJ fund, $1.8 billion. You have people that can't afford groceries. Gas is high. People are making sacrifices in their personal lives to accommodate for this rise in prices. People are telling us that they feel financially worse off. They're very concerned about the uncertainty. How can you justify that amount of taxpayer money for that fund when people are struggling? What do you say to Americans who wonder why this fund is getting all this money and I can't afford basic life amenities?
Well, let me say a couple things about that. First of all, you said $1.8 billion, and it's important for people to realize we're not just writing a $1.8 billion check. We're going to take a lot of people who are going to apply and say that they have been mistreated by their government. We're going to handle those situations case by case. And if we determine they were in fact mistreated by their government, we think it's reasonable to give them just compensation. But when you talk about funds and pots of money that are out there, I mean, thanks to Donald Trump's leadership and the working families tax cut, we put $40 billion into a rural healthcare fund in order to stop the closure, or at least prevent some closure of rural hospitals and rural clinics that had been decimated under the Biden administration. We had a piece of tax legislation that put hundreds of billions of dollars into the pockets of families. No taxes on Social Security, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on tips. So I reject the idea that we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. We can give just compensation to people who are mistreated by the government. We can also make sure that the American people, we do everything that we can to make their lives better, to make them more prosperous, to give them better jobs. That is the primary focus of Donald J. Trump's White House. That's the question all of us ask every single day is, how do we make our fellow citizens more prosperous? We can do that while also taking care of people who were mistreated by the last administration.
And then finally, in the ultimate projection and confession, J.D. Vance says, look, when it comes to Iran, we just don't know who the leaders are. And sometimes it's unclear what their negotiating position really is. They're all over the place. They'll say this one day, then this the next day. So we don't really know what they're saying. You're describing yourself. Iran's been crystal clear about what their non-negotiables are, what their red lines are. They've been publishing it publicly, and you are the ones who wake up and change. One day it's this, one day it's that. Donald Trump wakes up, it's this, that, the other. Let's play the clip.
It's not sometimes totally clear what the negotiating position of the team is. And I don't know if that's sometimes bad communication, if that's bad faith. I wouldn't pretend to venture a guess there, but I will say with confidence, it's sometimes hard to figure out exactly what it is that the Iranians want to accomplish out of the negotiations.
There you have it, everybody. Let me know what you all think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers, and thank you all so much for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others.
Right, man. So, that's crazy work. Trump's basically just got his team making excuses for him, despite this warning happening. So, it's interesting. Oh, we gotta just stay tuned because we don't know. There's so many different news outlets out there. You don't know which ones to trust. Like Midas Touch, but there's other ones as well. So y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know how y'all feel about Trump crashing out on the balcony, man, and how you feel about what he was talking about, even what Vance was talking about. Like, how do y'all feel about that? What's going on in your heads, Till next time, you stay reacting. We on the front line. It's your good brother. Salute.